Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of the Lifelong Connect podcast. As you all know, the season is upon us. So this specific this specific podcast will be about the season ahead. We're going to run through a couple of predictions, the prem predictions, champions, top four, who I expect to get relegated. I'm going to also run through who I expect to start in that game against Coventry tomorrow. As you guys all know, the season kicks off tomorrow Friday, which is an odd day to kick off, but whatever. We're also going to talk about um, who we think is going to score the first goal, who's going to have the most goals, who's going to have the most assists, and possibly some transfers. Mm. First of all, before we kick it up, I invite all of you guys to like, comment, subscribe, show your boys some support. I've been very, very, very consistent recently. I think I've probably dropped uh, 12 to 15 videos in the last 10 days. Um, I would say some very, 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 very good content. Some interesting perspective, interesting takes, um, similar and dissimilar to what is out there. As you would imagine, when there's so much content out there in the sphere, there will always be some overlaps or cross section. But try to the best of my ability, to have to have a different perspective. Try to play devil's advocate, so to speak, where possible. Anyways, guys, so we're going to jump right into it. Before we start, though, we're going to talk about that whole Orny bomb, Fabrizio Romano bomb, and the Arsenal bomb. Whoever dropped it first, Ezri Konsa. So Ezri Konsa is supposed to be presented today, maybe tomorrow. I think tomorrow probably would be a lot more sensible because we have the game. He might do what has become the norm, walkout, Victor Gyökeres, Bruno Guimaraes style presentation, walk out into the Emirates pitch against Coventry. But I expect for him to have some kind of media. So I expect Arsenal.com to release some, behind the scenes, some media photos, videos for him to do the walk of fame, walk of shame, where he, talks up, when he answers all those quick fire questions, and then, they ask him, and what do you do today? Sign for the Arsenal. I expect to see those kind of videos today, dominating the social media sphere. Hey guys, so first of all, good signing, bad signing, indifferent. I think all things considered, if you look at my last video that I posted, if you haven't, go and check it out, guys. I think overall it's a great decision, especially I was watching the TDK podcast yesterday, and they were talking about, was it TDK? It wasn't TDK. It was another podcast. And anyways, they were talking about Erling Haaland, and so they're saying that Man City is our biggest rival, which would make sense based on last season. And they're also talking about the record that Ezri Konsa has with Erling Haaland. And when Aston Villa played Man City, and it wasn't pretty. Ezri came out on top majority of the times. I think they were saying in 400 minutes that, against the two, that Erling Haaland was only able to score one goal, and that Ezri Konsa is his biggest nemesis. And that is not what Erling Haaland would want to hear when he's already having to deal with William Saliba, Big Abby. So I think overall, where the market is right now, sensible acquisition, sensible price. I think it is, he has experience. He won the Europa Trophy, Europa Cup with Aston Villa last season. He has I think he's been playing at Villa since 2019. So 2019, so 7 years of experience in the Premier League. Aston Villa has been in and among the top four for the majority of that time. It's definitely since Emery took over. And he's been playing at a really high level. He's an England international, was at the World Cup. So he has all the experience in the world. 20 years old, wise old chap, wise, as far as player development is concerned, between 28 and onwards is when you make the best decisions on the pitch and off the pitch. So we expect to be signing a player that is sensible, that is wise, that is good, that is experienced, that is full of quality, and so forth. Right, guys. So with that behind us, let's talk about the season ahead, guys. Okay, so we have a humongous opportunity ahead of us. Arsenal, another season, and I'm happy. I'm so happy, guys, to be alive, to be able to witness. If you, the funny thing about life is that you tend to take moments like this for granted. I started following Arsenal in 1998, and I imagine that since then, many Arsenal fans have come and gone, meaning that they're no longer with us. And I feel privileged, even we had to endure some tough times as Arsenal fans in the recent past, that I was able to see it, where we are right now. And it fills me with pride, it fills me with joy, and elation. Um, Jump into it. Premier League predictions, 2026-2027 season. Winner, no brainer, Arsenal. Top four, expect to see Arsenal, obviously, as I just said, they would win. I expect to see Manchester City. I expect Manchester City to waver in the coming years, but I expect them over the next 2, possibly 3 years, to at least maintain their top four status. But I expect to see a decline thereafter. Maybe a shift from second to third to four, and that type of demise, so to speak. I don't expect them to move from second to 20th, although Tottenham and Manchester United has showed us that is very possible. Anyways, so I expect to see Arsenal, expect to see, so Arsenal one, and in no mean order, and no order, Manchester City, Liverpool, and Chelsea. And I'll tell you what. So I expect Chelsea to be, there's Manchester United. Okay, so let me run that back again. Sorry. I expect to see, it's actually a very difficult one, and I'll tell you why. So it's going to be very tight. The two most unpredictable teams to me are going to be Tottenham and Chelsea. Reason being is that they don't have any kind of European football, and with the squad that they're building, Tottenham, I don't think Tottenham will break into the top four, just because the squad is just probably going to be too new, and that they're going to have to go through that developmental, you know, process, similar to what most teams, Liverpool's, Arsenal's, the cities have done in the past, where you go through a couple of years of, of process building, getting accustomed to the new environments, the league, all these new players. I know a lot of these players that were signed, the Tonales and the Fernandez, have been in the league before. It's still all new, the philosophy, and so forth. So there's going to be some level of acclimation. Chelsea, on the other hand, I think Chelsea doesn't have European football. Majority of their players are still with them. Um, and they have quality, let's be honest. Especially if they manage to keep hold of the players everybody loves to hate, which is Enzo Fernandez. If they keep hold of him, then I definitely think they'll be in the top four, because that guy is quality. Say what you want about him, hate him as you wish, as you want. The guy is absolute quality player. So if I was to say, but Manchester United, they really surprised us last season, especially in the end run. Harry is really doing a good job over there. They've lost, Casemiro, which I thought was a big loss because they haven't adequately replaced him. I know they're looking to sign Beleba. He's a young player. I don't know how long it's going to take him to transition into, or even if it will work out, because sometimes a lot of these players who haven't played for big clubs, sometimes they go with, the best intentions, but things don't work out. So there's a lot of question marks around that. Um, but they also have a phenomenal group of players who are used to the league, who are used to Carrick by now. And we're looking to kick on from last season. Definitely the Mboimos, definitely the Seskos, who look phenomenal. A player that I actually wish Arsenal signed over Gyökeres. no disrespect to Gyökeres. I know he really helped us all last season, but just being completely honest with you, um, the Yarlos, the Bruno Fernandes, phenomenal season last season, player of the Premiership last season. Um, and players like this, I expect them to kick on. Kobe Mainoo, I expect to have a big season. He would have been, over the moon to have been back back playing games, but he would have been angry about not playing any games for Manchester United, for not playing any games in the World Cup with England. So I know he would use that to kind of like bully him, to want to prove something. So I expect, these players to have a good season. And so, with that being said, top four will be tight, but Arsenal, Man City, Manchester United, and Liverpool. I can't see being any different. I think, thinking about it now, even though Chelsea, they don't have European football, I think it might be too soon for Xabi Alonso. I think he might have to um to go through a couple of transfer windows to kind of really iron down. I think they did a good job with getting some more leadership into the squad, the likes of Danny Welbeck, the likes of Jordan Henderson, because that team was absolutely leaderless. So I think you're moving in the right direction. You don't want to go get out of control with that philosophy, but the idea is sensible. You definitely need all the heads. Any successful team or any team that has been endured a certain level of success for a long time, is based on some kind of leadership, and that's usually in the form of older players. You just have to manage it properly. Um, so yeah, so I expect it to be Arsenal, City, Manchester United, and I expect Liverpool to be there. That's my top four prediction. Relegation. Ah, wow, who is going to get relegated? Tottenham going to do us all a favor and get relegated this season. They've come close on two separate occasions, two consecutive occasions as well, the last two seasons, and they're at the bottom here. So they should have stayed there. All right. Anyways, so I expect, you know, uh, so let's get serious. So I expect Ipswich Town to go down. I expect Hull City to go down, and I expect Coventry. So those are all the newly promoted teams. So based on what I'm seeing right now on the table and the team that are here, I expect those three teams, the newly promoted teams, to be the teams to get relegated at the end of the season. Those three teams. So as I said, Coventry, Hull, and Ipswich Town. So let's go into the game for tomorrow. So Premier League kickoff, the Emirates, Arsenal versus Coventry, Arteta versus Frank Lampard. Frank Lampard, starting 11. I expect to see starting lineup of David Raya in goal because who else, right? I think those other two keepers are quite incompetent, especially Kepa. Um, I wouldn't trust Kepa to boil rice. No pun. Mm. So Raya in goal, White right back, Mosquera, Gabi centre backs, Calafiori left back. Can't drop Calafiori after that masterclass against Manchester City in the Community Shield. Mm. Odegaard, again, back to his best, looking absolutely phenomenal. I'm so excited to see what he does this season. I was listening to Arsenal Vision podcast yesterday, and they were talking about players who have something to prove, but I'll get into that in a second. So I expect to see a midfield of Odegaard, Bruno Guimaraes, and Miles Lewis Kelly. Um, on the right wing, I expect to see Madueke start, left wing, Christos Solis, and then the striking position. I just have a feeling that Victor Yokers is going to start this game. I know our if Arteta's and everybody else's preferred striker right now as things are is Havertz, but I just have a weird idea, a weird feeling that Victor Yokers is going to be the player that starts this game. All right, so that's my starting 11 guys: Raya, White, Mosquera, Gabi, Alfiore, Odegaard, Skelly, Bruno Guimaraes, Madueke, Solis, and Victor Yokers. All right, so we're going to go into who's going to score the first goal of the season. So the first goal of the season last season, I don't know if you guys remember, Arsenal were away to Manchester United in that beautiful white jersey. And Calafiori, it was a 1-0 victory, and Calafiori was the player to get on the score sheet. Um, this season, however, if I was to say who I think will get on the score sheet, I think it depends. I think it depends who starts up top. I think the striker will get the first goal of the season. If we go with Yorker to start, I think Yorker will get the first goal of the season. If we start with Havertz, I think Havertz will get the first goal of the season. Um, so I think that striker will be the first person to score a goal in the season. Most goals for the season, I think most goals of the season will be also an interesting one. By the way, guys, it's all contingent on any incoming. If we sign up for argument's sake, a Kenan Yildiz, which I'll talk about later on, um, or if we sign a Julian Alvarez in a perfect world, then obviously I don't have that information now, so we would have to take that into account. But based on what we have here in front of us, um, feel like it's going to be a higher scoring season for Arsenal than last year, definitely. Mm. Just because we've won the league, and I feel all of that stress has come off us, and that's you can see that further through the game against Manchester City, how we played. The shackles were off. You see how Arsenal look when shackles are off. So I expect us to be more free flowing in attack, and to be a lot more ruthless in attack as well. So I'll go out on a limb. I think Kai Havertz will have a big season. But then there's Saka. Um, between Kai Havertz and Saka, if I were to choose one, I would say probably I'll go with Kai Havertz. I think Kai Havertz is going to have a strong season this season in front of all. Most goals, Kai Havertz. Most assists, I think that's going to be between Solis and Odegaard. I think Solis is going to nick it by a little bit. That guy looks tremendous. I mean, and based on the amount of assists he's given us so far, two in the Community Shield alone, and I think a further 4 or 5 in the build up to the Community Shield, so in preseason. Um, and I think it definitely in games like Coventry, he's going to rack them up, guys. So he's going to absolutely rack them up. I wouldn't be surprised if he gets a couple again tomorrow. All right, so I expect Solis to get the most. It's going to be between Solis and Odegaard, I think, but I expect Christoph Solis to nick Odegaard in the end. Mm. Goal score prediction for tomorrow. I think it's going to be some. I think it's going to be high. I know. I was listening to Arteta's pre-match press conference just a while ago, and they were talking about Frank Lampard's team, um, how how good they were in the championship to get promoted, and I think they had the the best defensive record and the best attacking record in the league, which would make sense for champions. Um, but I still think that Arsenal level is just far superior that they're going to end up conceding four. I wouldn't be surprised if it's 4 or 5. Mm. Yeah, I think 4-0 or 5-0 is going to be the score tomorrow. If I had to choose, definitely I would go with 4-0. Right? Um, so let's go into transfers. Should I do transfers or should I leave it for another video? Let's run through the transfers. All right. So we have some players, guys, and there's no easy way to say this. it is time that these guys move on. The likes of Gabriel Jesus, who over the last 3 seasons just has not been there, either injury or poor form or just lack of confidence. Call it what you will, but it's time. I think Martinelli is the only one that I'm conflicted with. I think Martinelli, he wasn't good in the league, but he got us important goals, especially that goal against Manchester City, because that would have been 3 points lost and who knows how the season would have ended. Difficult to tell. But he had a phenomenal Champions League. Scored, I think he was the first player to score in every game of the Champions League, all the way up to I think all the way up to the quarterfinals, semifinals, maybe. Definitely quarters. Um, so he had a phenomenal Champions League campaign. He works hard. He is a joy to be around, apparently. He's been with us, for a very long time, basically from a boy to a man. He understands Arteta, he understands the system. And a character like that, you don't really want to lose. It's so tough. A big part of me is saying that even if you sign another left winger, that we should keep Martinelli anyways. Especially because we're going to lose one area on loan, most likely. I think one area should go on loan. I think he just came up at the wrong time. And there's, you have Eze, Odegaard, Merino. Oof, forgot about Merino. Merino might give a good shout to most goals scored. But anyways, I'll stick to Havertz. But I think, and then when you look on the wing, which apparently he doesn't want to play on the wing anyways, you have players like Madueke and Saka. And, he does not going to start over any of these players, guys. Let's just be real. Um, and so I think it is probably the best for his development for value's sake to retain his value. I mean, the event that we at some point have to sell him or decide to sell him that we we're in the driving seat, we're able to command a good fee for him. And then you have players like Nelson, who I mean, this guy, you know, barring that last minute goal that he scored for us, I don't know which team it was against. It was seasons ago. So far back as I can't even remember. Probably 3 seasons ago. That this guy is that, he just needs to go. I don't want to get disrespectful, but it's time. It's time. Um, I was listening to a guy on another podcast the other day, and the guy was saying that Nelson basically stole a living off Arsenal, and that's exactly what it is. If we're being honest, between loans and paying partial, part of the loan salary or the full loan salary. This guy's been going out on loan for a long time, guys. A long time. You know, overseas. I don't know which team was it. Hertha Berlin or Schalke. The team it was in Germany that he was playing for. Nottingham Forest. I mean, there's so many. There's so many. Can't remember all the names, but there've been so many. And if not, he's been injured, and if not, he hasn't been playing. So what is the point? It's time to go. Fabio Vera, another player that came in. And to be fair, the first couple of months, you could say, okay, there's an argument to see how this develops, but whatever, probably wasn't combative enough to play in the Premier League. Maybe because Arteta didn't trust him, maybe the system didn't suit him. But anyways, consequently, he's been out on loan. He went back to Porto, and then last season he was in the Bundesliga. Um, can't remember which team. It could have been one of those blue teams, Hoffenheim, or one of these teams, Schalke's, Hertha Berlin, one of these teams. But another player where it looks like it's just time to go. It just doesn't work. And when it doesn't work, guys, don't force it. Just cut your losses and move on. Anyway, then that's the deal with the outs. Let me know in the comment section if I'm missing anything, by the way, from this out list. Possible one or two that I'm missing. Maybe Kepa should be on this list as well, to be honest. And then we have the possible ends. So right now we have Konza pretty much through the door. And apparently, we've been linked with Kenan Yildiz. I don't know how true it is. I haven't heard anything definitive. Let me know in the comment section. Copy a link. Let me see the link to any of the big media platforms talking about this in any real sort of way. Um, I've seen him. I don't watch the Serie A that much. My team in the Serie A is AC Milan, anyways. Um, so I definitely wasn't watching Juventus games, but I've seen some highlights and he looks good. Um, how it translates, nobody would know. I mean, you'd have to test it, but he has the skill. He's not a small guy, so if he decides, then he can be combative. He can work out. You know, he definitely has all the ability in the world for it to work out, but it's just up to him to make that. He has some niggling knee injuries and stuff like that. Hopefully, anything that's concerning would come out in the medical, and then that and if it is a Kim Kallstrom situation, then we don't sign him, because obviously that would make no sense. But if it's something that is not too concerning, then it would be great to have him on board. Um, back to back, back to back guys. Oh yeah, one more guys, one more before I forget. So Victor Osimhen. So I mean, if we the thing about Osimhen though is that I think he would be an amazing addition. I don't know if we can pay those wages though, and I also think that if he signs, then Gyökeres would have to make way. Kai Havertz isn't going anywhere. I know that for a fact, um, because that is one of Arteta's love childs, or love one of his love children or whatever. So I don't expect him to leave. I think if anybody was to leave, it would be Victor Gyökeres. But I think I would be open to trying that. I think he offers. I did a podcast. It came out this morning actually, when me and a friend of mine did a podcast together, and we're talking about Osimhen, and we're talking about all the reasons why we think he'll be a good signing. Go and check that out, guys, if you haven't yet. Um, basically his combative nature, his erraticness, his unpredictability, his ability to win headers, a tall guy, win headers in the box, so to shoot from long range. We don't really have any players who are hitting the ball from long range, which is something that I desperately would love to have in our team. I think that Kenan Yildiz would also add to that. But Victor Osimhen, mm, my friend was saying that we haven't really signed a real out and out striker since Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang, and that Osimhen would be that guy. A mixture of Olivier Giroud and Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang. Um, Aubameyang had lots of goals, but he lacked that physical edge, and and Giroud had a fair amount of goals, but and definitely had the ability to hold up the ball and was combative, but he he could have scored more goals. He could have been a little bit more prolific, a little bit more, you know. So I think Osimhen would be something I would definitely be open to before the end of the transfer window. All right, guys. So I think I'm just going to wrap it up there. Let me know who you think we should be looking at the signs. Let me know if I missed out anything on the outs. Let me know um, you know, if you agree with these outs that I put here. Should one year ago to unknown? Should Martinelli be given another chance? Should he leave? I think the rest, Jesus, Nelson, and Fabio Vieira, we are all in agreement with that. Let me know what you think about the starting 11. Who would you start? Um, all things considered. Remember, we have depth now, so we don't have to be starting our Rices and Sakas and wasting them on trivial games like this. And also, some of these players never really had a long preseason, so we kind of want to slowly bed them in. Um, Let me know if you agree with my winners, top four relegation. Let me know if you agree with my first goal scorer of the season. Who is yours? Um, who will have the most goals and who will have the most assists? All right, guys. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Thanks for joining me on the Lifelong podcast. Peace and love.